I have to say that the Deputy Secretary General can dance off stage after that talk, I think says a lot about resilience, right? These are not easy problems to solve. And I think after this session, we have to rethink. We think laws, we have to rethink how debt is structured, we have to rethink the balance of power between the global South and the North. And it all, I think, reminded me of what Shamina said this morning, that we have to listen with empathy and also with urgency, right? I think these conversations are not easy to hear because they are, in a way, a broken record, but they are still a broken record that needs to get unbroken. So to bring a little levity to this space, I would like to welcome someone who prioritizes hard work, good vibes, and comedy to the stage. Her name is Lilly Singh, and she is the founder of Unicorn Island. Lilly.
Oh my God, yes, baby! Let's go, baby! Guneet, please join us. Round of applause for Guneet. She's so talented, yes. Y'all, Inclusive Growth Summit, let me hear you make some noise! You see, I know we're here to save the world and do great things. It doesn't mean we can't have a great damn time while doing it. So get ready to be thrilled by this conversation. Thrilled.
Absolutely no pressure asking a question to a former late night host.
Former.
Lilly.
So not that much pressure.
You're absolutely a rock star. I just wanted to get started by asking you, you're such an amazing, grand storyteller. With every piece of video, with every, a decade and a half been a fan to begin with of where you started from. How has storytelling shaped your life?
I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but growing up, I grew up in the South Asian culture, but I think this is true to a lot of cultures around the world. There were a lot of taboo topics. There's a long list of things that were uncomfortable to talk about, whether it was sex, pregnancy, health, mental health, whatever it may be, divorce, death. There's so many taboo topics. And growing up, I found myself constantly leaning on comedy to deal with them. Like to talk with my parents, to talk with my siblings, to talk with my friends. I would always make a joke. Wouldn't it be wild if we talked about mental health? Isn't that yo, can you imagine if I liked girls? That would be so funny, wouldn't it? What? What are you talking about, right? What do you think about that? I would always use comedy as a way to get into conversations, and I think I learned from a young age that comedy and entertainment as a whole is a really great way to get people to lower their defense mechanisms. It kind of just takes the awkwardness out of conversations and allows everyone to just feel a little better and a little sillier. And so I use that in my career. I've talked about a lot of topics that were considered taboo, whether it was on YouTube or film or TV or whatnot. And I've always felt like comedy was the medicine, entertainment was the medicine, the best way to deliver a difficult message. But on the note of storytelling, check out this sick segue I'm about to do into the next question, by the way. Yeah, that's right. Take notes, everybody. On the topic of storytelling, you are one of the greatest storytellers on the planet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Especially, I have to say, giving you mega personal props because obviously, you're of Indian descent. I want to talk to you first about the collective that you had formed, Indian Women Rising.
Yes.
We had a fascinating conversation about this yesterday, I'm not going to lie, and I was like, you need to say this on stage, this is so incredible. Talk to me about that collective, where it started, where it is now.
So, we all start with a lot of ambition. Yes, I've been a filmmaker, produced 40 plus films in India, putting our conversations forward, a couple of Oscar awards.
Let's go!
Yes, definitely. I wanted to use my power in creating change on ground. Less than 5% women are directors. So the idea of starting the collective was, let us empower women and put their films out there and use our platform to be able to market it and release it and, open the doors that have taken a decade for us to open. And we did all of that. We were an incredible bunch of inspired women wanting to create the way for further women. And we picked up a short film called Bittu, that was shortlisted for the Oscars. However, did not get nominated, but we did a grand campaign for it, and it really helped the filmmaker get more gigs. And that's exactly when we realized that there are not too many films that you can promote, because what is happening is not too many are getting made. So you only get into something, it's not like you begin something and it goes from success to success. So I'm here telling you all a story of something that did not work, and we started this and we supported a film, and then we were like, there are not many films. So we are right now in the process of building skill development, of looking inwards and going early, and really taking in the stats that less than 5% women are directors. So what do we do? What does it take to increase that stats? We make 1,000+ films in the country, and less than 5% are directed by women. There's definitely that something needs to be done. So at this point of time, I'm focusing a lot of my energy on building something early on. It's early days, but we don't have any kind of mentorship, shadow program, skill development, writers' rooms, all those things need to get done, or even like a producers network in Cannes at the breakfast, or a Sundance workshop. So a lot of those dots need to be joined. So I'm in early days of changing the stats, and I'm driven to change that number.
I love that you talk about that specifically because, let's be real, if anyone in this room, you all do amazing things. You all are trying to change whatever corner of the world or in some capacity, in some way. And what I think is so awesome is that, I don't know if anyone can relate, you see an issue and you see a problem, and sometimes you get knocked off your high horse. Because I've had moments where I've told you this, I went back to India and I'm like, I'm gonna help the girls here. I understand this, I know this, I got this. I understand this, I know the problem, I see the solution. And then you go there and you're like, oh.
Reality check.
I actually know nothing about this. And it's actually a very humbling experience. This work is very humbling. And I think admitting to mistakes, admitting to failures, and knowing that you don't have all the answers is such an important part of the work. Because that's what this work is.
And I'm so inspired by you putting out about Unicorn Island, and I really wanted myself and also everybody here to know, how is it that you plan to impact the world with Unicorn Island, with the work you do, and especially using your superpower, which is storytelling?
Totally. So this pin I'm wearing right here, which a lot of people ask me about, so I'm like, good logo design, let's go, is Unicorn Island. It is my company. It has a production side. It has a fund side as well. Our belief is that storytelling can change the world. More specifically, we believe in the power of storytelling to change culture, specifically how women and girls are treated. That's the chip on my shoulder. I'm very vocal about gender inequality is the chip on my shoulder. Sometimes people will say things to me like, it sounds like you have an agenda, and I'm like, correct. I do. That is, I'm not hiding it. That is 100% my agenda. That is exactly what I am doing. I have a chip on my shoulder. I'm annoyed and angry, and I want to change this thing. It's not a secret. So why I think storytelling is so important is, I really believed, and I didn't recognize it always when I was younger. I just finished saying that I used comedy and entertainment as a kid. I don't think I would have described back then as me being a storyteller. But as I've grown up, I'm like, you know what, that is actually what I do. I think how we see other people, how we see the world, how we treat people, how we let people treat us, what we think is possible for ourselves, is all a story. The patriarchy is a story. It's all stories that have been passed down. And thank you for the snaps. And I think with Unicorn Island, what we're trying to do is we're trying to change the narrative of how women and girls specifically are treated, and specifically in India. And we're trying to look at the science behind storytelling, which stories work with certain groups of people. We want to get nerdy about it. What would work for this group of people, and which normative behaviors could best be changed through storytelling? And I always it's quite interesting, I kind of use my dad as a case study a little bit. So my dad, he's a little bit of a dude bro, God bless his soul, I love him, but he exclusively watches two things and two things only: UFC and Earth documentaries, the Animal Planet types. Those are the two things. Everything else he hates, he's falling asleep, he's not into it. And I have been trying to introduce him to new things, new stories, to see if maybe they can open up his mind to some social issues that he's not too keen or savvy on. There was this Bollywood movie I won't get too in the weeds for those. There's a Bollywood movie called Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Ki Kahani, okay?
Love it.
For those of you that don't know, it was like a really revolutionary Bollywood movie that talked about just like gender roles and the role of women in a household. And there was like a very awesome feminist protagonist. It talked about a lot of issues. And I was like, oh man, I wish my dad would watch this movie. I don't know how I'm gonna get him to do this. I flew back to Toronto. I was like, Dad, I'm buying you a ticket. You have to leave the house. We're going to the theater. We're watching this movie. We sit there, we watch the movie. My dad does not fall asleep. And after the movie, I look over at him and I go, this could go either way. And he went, wow, that was beautiful. And I was like, for real? And I found it so fascinating because sometimes I will show him stories and they do not resonate with him. So it really got me thinking of like, what is it about this that got through to you? And I'm really fascinated by that. What kind of stories can we tell where men feel seen and understand that they're a part of this equation as well? What can we show young girls? What types of stories will resonate with them to let them know that they can be whatever they want to be? So I really do feel like storytelling is the commodity and the intervention itself that we don't focus on enough, and that is really where I want to lean in.
Yeah, and absolutely. I totally agree with that because entertainment, and it's historic numbers. You can go through the worst times, but what always has only increased is entertainment, is storytelling, the need for entertainment, even in COVID. Netflix and Amazon actually doubled down on their streamers and on their numbers because everybody was stuck to that, and they were like, just give us stories. And my entire career, I've always said that, it's precious to get that 90 minutes from people because they're going to listen to us one way.
Right.
With all our intelligence, with all our logical brain, we're going to be telling our story. And how do we not take that 90 minutes for granted, tell a story that leave an impact, and to hundreds of people, and I said this yesterday because a good story told with impact has compound effect.
Right.
Has compound effect on millions of people watching it, and we have no idea where that change gets created, where lives change, evolution happen, because patriarchy uses every trick in the trade
Right.
for every emotional blackmail.
So we have to be just as savvy.
Yeah, we have to be savvy.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
in entertaining and telling our messages across of equality, of inclusivity. It's not a big deal. We can all be seen as
Mother Nature was like, that part.
I agree.
Let me leak onto this room right now. That was literally what just happened. No, but I think the compound impact is so important because you're right. In anything we do, we have to remember, like, people always ask me, sometimes I get a little stressed, I'm not gonna lie, because people are always like, you got a lot of followers and you can tell all your followers these things. I'm like, cool, yeah, but also like the power of one person being impacted should not be underestimated.
Yes.
That one person then grows up to maybe have kids or whatnot. Compound effect is really important. I know we have 10 seconds left, but I'm gonna use these 10 seconds to just really big you up and say, first Indian production to win an Oscar, a woman.
Thank you, Lilly.
Let's just have a moment here. Killing it across the board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And what an honor. Thank you.
What an honor for me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.